This is Annie from Stamp Anything. We have our Kristina Watch Me Sip coloring video here for you today with Stephen Crop. So he is going to begin with using E59 for her skin tone. And basically all that you need to do, it works the same way with our light skin tone. You are going to go underneath the hairline, making a thin little line with that E59 where her shadow pieces would be laid. So just underneath the hairline like so. And then you're going to do it also on the other side. And then he's going to start forming on the eye part of the chibi stamp. That helps give it some definition around the eyes. A little bit of color in her little ear area. And then we're going to grab E57. And you're going to start blending out that first color. And it's going to start softening the line. You can see here it's not extended out too far, but you're going to go over that last edge and start building out your color. And don't forget the little ear section. And then also we're going to go around the eye and extend that out a little bit more as well. Next, we're going to go in with E15. Once again, we're just going to start building out that color, going over the last previous two colors. It just really is going to help soften all of those, the harshness. It's just going to soften it so that you get a nice transition of this dark skin color. And then we're going to start going around the bottom part of her face and then fixing the circle area around the eye. It just helps to give it some definition. And then we're going to continue on that lower edge of her face. And then we're going to go in with our E33. Again, just all repetitiveness, going over those last color blends. But you can see here with this color, we are going out a little bit further, filling in more of that face area. And then going around the eye, which is going to look like this. So you're connecting that bottom, the bottom roundness of the eye going up towards the top part on the inside, and then just flushing out some of that color. And then also don't forget to do her ear. And you just want to get a nice smooth transaction of these colors going. So I'm just, they're blending it up a little bit more. Then we'll go in with our next color, which is E31. You can see he's using more of a circle motion than just going back and forth like he did with the other ones. the other layers, and that's because we're going to work this marker a little bit more to get into all of those little nooks and crannies and to smooth out the previous color line, because this is a lighter color, so you just have to go over it a little bit more to smooth out that transition. And when you're left, you're going to be left with just this little white type circle, well, not a circle, a little white section in the middle of her head. And then that will be taken care of with our final color in this skin blend. But using a circular motion on these past lines that were put down just helps to blend it better. So now we have this little white section left that we're going to go in with our E30. And we're basically just going to go over that into our last color we put on until it blends pretty seamlessly together with that E31 we had just laid down. You just have to work it a little bit more. And then we got our E31 and our E33. And we're just going to do a little tip to tip method when you're picking up a little bit of the color, and then you can put that in there and it helps smooth out any lag in the color when you're going from one color to the next and it's just too big of a gap. Doing this tip to tip method helps fill in the color sequence that would be there. And this is also a great thing if you don't have a lot of markers as well, by doing tip to tip to fill in some color blends. Then we're going to go in with our R22 and we're just going to put down a little cheek color. And we're just going from the side underneath her eye and then around her cheeks. And how far you go out is up to you, depending on how much blush you want her to have. And then just going back with our lightest color to kind of smooth that out. So now we're going in with our E04, and we're just going to color in her tongue. And then with our colorless blender, we're just putting a little bit down the center so she gets a little highlight on her tongue. So we're going to go into B26. We're going to give her some color on her eyes. And then we're going in with B16. And we're going to start extending that out from that darker blue into a lighter blue. And then our B01. Again, just extending it to go lighter around the pupil of her eye. Just gives a nice little ombre eye coloring variation. And then our colorless blender, you just hit up those ends so that it flows nicely into the white on the bottom section of the eye. And I'm just, Steven's just doing a quick second coat of that to make the eyes a little bit more vibrant. So just repeating the steps over again with the same colors. Okay, now we're going to continue her skin. She has that little bit of a neck showing with that her scarf on, and also her little hand. So we're in there with the same colors we used before, starting with that dark and then our E15, then going into our E33, and then our E31. These are very, very tiny areas, so you're not going to be using as many markers as you did in her face. But it's just to help to give her variations of the skin tone even in these little areas. Now with our W10, we're going to start doing her hair, and you just basically pounce the tip of your marker in to get these dots on her hair, and we're going to go around the outer edge part of the hair first. And it's really important here to do them kind of quick, because if you sit there and try to think of where you're going to put your your dots, and do it slowly, they're going to be more uniform and like in a line. Whereas if you just kind of pounce it and you just have that area there and you use different pressure, so harder on the outer and lighter on the inside, you can see where you get that variation of the bigger dots and the smaller dots. And then after you're done with that W10, you're going to do and repeat the same exact thing with your W7. So again, the harder you press down, the bigger your dot is going to be. So going around the edges where it's a little bit thicker, and then towards the center where you're going to just be doing a little bit lighter pressure. You want to go over some of those other dots because that's going to help blend them out. And you're just going to continue that. And then go with your next color, which is going to be our E87. This is going to start to bring in a little bit more of a cooler brown to go with your grays. And again, you're just pouncing that marker on with the tip, overlapping those other colors, filling in the area, and this is how you can do really cool curly hair. And giving it texture, having some highlights in there. It's just a really quick and easy technique. Next is your E84. And again, just repeating, filling in, going over, pouncing in there until you start to see this area just start to close up and the white disappear. And then with our E81, basically filling in, we're using kind of more of the side of our brush at this point just to fill in all of the white areas. As this is your lightest color. And you still want to use that pouncing effect even though it's the side of your marker with that last color, because if you just brushed over it, you're going to just make the colors blend too much and they're not going to look curly with the dots because you would be blending it too much. Then we just went back with our W10 to add in some more defining dots and filling in more of the space there. And then we can go ahead and repeat on our other side. Again, the closest outer of the hairline, we're doing larger dots to fill in the space. And then towards the center, a little bit more straggled and randomly placed and not as dense. They're a little bit further apart. Then with that W7, just repeating the same type of technique over once again. Basically, Where you want the darkest areas to be is where you're going to condense your dots. And then where you want your highlights to be is where the dots are going to be a little bit more distributed with a bigger gaps in between. And then he's just self-correcting on the right-hand side, adding some more of that W7. Then going in with that E87, which is going to start bringing in that cool brown coloring. Again, just random placements of the dot. And then with our E84, again, going over, just putting in those dots. And then our final color, our E81, filling in all those little areas that are still open that have the white showing through. And you can see how the right-hand side is a little bit more compacted with the dots than the left side. And now you can just kind of self-adjust and add some more where you see that you have bigger gaps showing and where you want to just cover up a little bit more of that information.
Can you say that again?
And then in with your W7. And then
I don't have an answer for that.
Alexa, cancel. Sorry about that. She randomly turns on every once in a while. That was our E87. And then into our E84. And you just want to get it as uniform as you can side to side. And then that E81 is just going to help get rid of all the remaining white spaces that you have. Isn't she adorable? Okay, so now we're going to be able to go and move on. And we are going to, I believe, do her sweater next. So starting with the G28, he is going to lay down the darkest green on her sweater, which is going to be in the shadows and the folds of her outfit, or her sweater rather. So he put underneath the scarf and on the right hand side, and you can see he's creating that little bit of a fold by bringing in those angled areas on her right hand side and then underneath her sleeve caps. Then in with our G07, just extending that out and blending those two together. Then we're going to go in with YG09. Again, you are just blending out the colors you laid down. And then our final color to complete the green sweater is YG25, which you can pretty much just color in the rest of the exposed white on the sweater. And just go over those other colors as well to blend it all together. Now we're going to go into some orangey colors, and we're going to start with YR18 for her scarf. Again, we are going in the dark shadow areas, which is where the one scarf layer is on top of the other, and also kind of around her neck to create a fold. Then with our YR09, you're going to extend that color out even further. You can see he's making a little bit of a fold on that first part of the scarf, and then flaring out the shadows. On the neck roll. Then our YR16. Gonna blend that out. It's gonna start getting into more of a light orange, almost a yellowy orange. And just blending these out just a smidge to start softening the harsh lines so that you can bring in that next color, which is going to be Y19. And blending that in there. And you're going to get a really cute bold look with the scarf, with the highlight and the shadow in there. Then back with our YR19, we're going to also go ahead and do her shoes. She likes to coordinate, this girl, so her shoes and scarves are going to go together. YR16. And then your Y19. I'm just blending that out. And she is in beautiful, crisp fall colors, drinking her coffee. Okay, so now we're going to go into some cool grays. And we're going to use C7. And we are going to start her jeans. So when Steven does the legs, he likes to make little kneecaps. So you can see when his hand's away, he did an arch above where her knee would be and a little arch below. And then he's laying in the shadows underneath where that sweater is and down the right side of her leg. Then with the C5, he's going to extend those colors. And again, he likes to put the little knee folds in there. So that's why you have that 3-sectioned part on both of the legs. And then in with your C3, you're going to go ahead and blend that all together. Going to work the marker quite a bit just to get a nice smooth blend with that last C marker that you put in. And you'll be able to see how she has like her little knee area in there, because it's a lighter part on her pants. And then he's going to do that tip to tip once again, just to help bring those colors together with the C3 and the C5. And then with our C2, he is going to be getting her socks. Just putting a line down the right-hand side and the very front of her sneakers. And then our C3, he's just gonna darken that up a little bit. And that way the socks read white, but they have a little bit of a light cast shadow on it. Then her earrings, we're gonna go in with that YG25. Told you she likes to color coordinate, our little Kristina here. And then we're going to go in, and I believe he'll be getting the coffee cup. And for that, we're going to start with our E81. And he's doing the cup portion of the coffee cup in that E81 and flowed the color right on there. And then with his E84, he is just doing the cup portion, not the wraparound part on the cup. And then with his E87, he just added in a little bit of a shadow at the very edge. And then back with that E81, just softening and darkening that right side. And then back with the C3 like he did with the socks. We're just gonna go ahead and do the lid. And then he colored in the whole lid, and then with the C5, he just put like a little accent mark on the lid. And then with our colored pencil, he's just going to add in some detail marks on that scarf where it's going to look more like a knitted type scarf. So just making the random V's like on a knit. And you just want to follow the shape and flow of the item when you're adding texture like this. You don't want it to be a straight line. You want it to curve if the item that you're adding these to also curve. So you just want to follow basically the lines of your coloring and the lines that are drawn in on the stamp as well. And then he's going with his white colored pencil and just going over those lighter areas where that yellow part of the scarf is, and then down the left side of her sweater, just to give a more of an illusion of the highlight in there. And Stephen, like we like to use colored pencil as opposed to a gel pen. Gel pens lay the white on top of your coloring, whereas the colored pencil is a little bit more translucent and it just blends better with the colors. And then with the gel pen, he's adding in his eye accents. And you can see how much whiter the gel pen is than the pencil when you want something to be white or when you want it to more or less be the highlight. So there is our colored girl. And now we're going to go on to the card assembly portion of our video. Okay, so now on to the card assembling portion of our video. Stephen is smushing down his distressed inks, and he is doing a smushing technique on his card base. He is going to be using several different colors. You just basically smush your ink onto your working palette, add some water to it, and press your paper into the wet ink, and then you can heat set it. No two will ever look alike, but you want to just keep adding and building your color until you get what you're happy with. And everyone's is going to be different. He is doing his in muted browns like coffee, since this is a coffee project. So he's just using several different shades of brown. You dab off your paper in between. He's adding more water to distress it some more. And you just keep building these colors with whatever inks you're going to be using. And then you can see he keeps just pressing it in, heat setting it to dry it. Your paper will curl a bit, and that is completely normal. And then you just going to keep adding, and you can actually add an accent color here. You can do anything you want. This is just a really fun and easy technique that you can just go ahead and keep adding different colors until you get the desired effect that you want. He wanted a coffee effect, so there's our coffee. Now with his smaller distress ink, he is just going to blend all of the edges and distress it a little bit further so that it's not so white around the edges. He's sprinkling it with water to activate those inks and get some more splashes in there. And again, this is not anything that's really taught. You just kind of work and do what you prefer in this kind of technique. And now he's just adding his little coffee wings by using the bottle of his spray water. And when you go ahead and activate, it's going to lighten those areas with the water. And then you just always make sure you clean up your desk in between colors so that you don't put the back of your paper into your little sticky mess of inks that are down there. Okay, so we are now, he is just planning out his card and what he wants to do, see where he wanted to use that distressed area that he just created. And then he is going to go ahead and die cut that out with our oval shaker basic. And he has all the supplies needed. Our oval shaker basic card comes with the bottom piece and also the frame piece. And if you just layer the frame piece, either with several layers of chipboard, or you could go ahead and put foam tape around there to make your shaker wall, however is, your way and your style of doing your shakers. I know I prefer chipboard to foam board, and these pieces all line up perfectly since the die is built that way. And you have your solid piece, which is your bottom, and then you also will use your solid piece as your acetate window when it is time to put your shaker bits inside. And then you can use your frame to build up the walls, and then of course the frame top piece to decorate. He is using our beads and bugles shaker bits. This is the coffee colored adornments that we have. He's just adding them in there. They're all like really cute, different beads and bugles that are in there. And he just made sure that his layered piece of the wall was high enough that none of the shakers are taller than the wall. And that's just a standard point in shaker making. Okay, now he just glued his acetate on there and he's waiting for it to dry. And then he will go ahead and finish the construction once that acetate is done. So in the meantime, he is just distressing his frame a little bit. And then he can go ahead and he's going to glue his frame to the top of his shaker. And then he's just going to wait for that to dry. And in the meantime, he's going to go get his card base now. And he's using some green distress inks. And again, he's going to be doing that smushing technique that he loves doing. And we are going to just watch this process again. You saw it in the browns, and now we're going to see it in the greens. And it really is just building up layers and layers of color. And that's all there is to it. And again, you'll never, even if you use the same colors and did it again and again, no two cards are going to look exactly the same. So it's a really, really fun and unique technique to be using. And especially if you like to get a little messy in your crafting, because you definitely get to smush and play around with the colors. Just make sure you have a good heat gun that could help you speed up the process in between. Now he is just using a full bar alphabet background stamp just to add some texture to his background piece. And then he's activating those inks again to distress it a bit, make it look like worn old paper. And then, just as before, he is just ink blending the different edges of the card. And now he has a shaker bit that he's going to figure where he's putting it. He had some extra background pieces that he's done in the past that he's just using a spare piece of. And he is cutting out our pennant banner die. Gives it a little pop of color since it's got the orange and the yellow like in her outfit. And then he is using his edger die to turn this into a Rolodex. And then there is an instant Rolodex card for you. So you can turn anything into a Rolodex with that die. He already stamped his sentiment, and then he is going to be using our Thanks a Latte add-on builder die. Comes with all of these pieces. It's a gift card add-on, but you don't have to use it as a gift card. As you can see here, he's just going to be using it as more of a sentiment. So there's different ways. Obviously, you can use your dies. So this is great. You can also make scrapbook pages with it. Okay, and then he just cut it out of that paper that he used earlier. And he is just going to assemble. And he is just cutting out some more pieces. So we cut out the Thanks a Latte also in some black chipboard so that he'll be able to shadow it. I think he's going to shadow it. I'm not sure. Let's see what he does. I think he shadows it, not just puts it together. Let's just see. Yes, he's using it as a shadow behind. So you just, offset the top piece a smidge from your bottom piece. So you get that little shadow effect underneath your font there. And he's doing that with all three words rather, of this little sentiment. And now he's going to go ahead and start the rest of the assembly. So he has this really cool striped background stamp to give some texture to the latte cup, make it look kind of wood grainish. And then he's going to darken his edges, going all around the cup. And then he's also darkening the little wraparound. And he's using his splatter marker airbrush. We also sell those. You can just use Copic markers in there, and you can use any marker because it does self-adjust. Well, not self-adjust. There's two ways you can use the airbrush marker. Just helps to give some more texture to your items. And all of this we'll link the products that he used in the description below if you're interested. And as you can see, there's that air marker again. You see how it just gives like a little speckled effect. There is a plug on the handheld marker that you can open up to fit a fat marker like a Copic, or if you put the piece back in, they will fit like the Tombow kind of marker, the skinnier markers, so that you can go ahead and use your markers as an airbrush. And it makes a really cool effect, as you can see there. It just adds some really nice texture. Okay, so now for the assembly of the Thanks a Latte, putting that cup together. Just some finishing touches that he's doing. And then the little heart goes right in the center there. And then he has the top part of the coffee lid, gluing that on. And the little steam coming out of the cup. And then he's putting on the lettering. And the background of this die, you can kind of figure with the bubbles where the thanks and the latte part goes, and then you can eyeball where the A for the thanks a latte goes. And there is your cute little sentiment. He's just distressing a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to be, let's clean up that desk, right? Now we're going to go put it all, assemble it together. First, he's going to go and put down his little shaker. Then the little pennant flag. Okay, and so now he's just going to finish assembling the card, and he just needs to see where the glue is going to go. Sometimes you can use pop dots if there's a big gap. He's just gluing on the edge of the shaker. And then he's going to get his little foam pieces put underneath the parts that need to be raised up so there's not a gap and it doesn't get caught on things. And then we're going to figure where our sentiment needs to go. And again, just gluing and pop dotting it so it's all nice and even. And there you have some coffee beans that came in one of our other shaker bits. We do not have that one anymore, but you can add on some rhinestones or anything else that you want. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Make sure you subscribe so you get notifications when we have new videos, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by.